welcome to Relationships and Astrology's Loving the Planets November 2018 forecast. Margaret, that sounds a little different.
It is a little different, isn't it? We've changed our style, Armand, and I'm Margaret Gray in Dublin.
And I'm Armand Diaz on Long Island.
So do you want to start us off, Armand, and tell our listeners what we're doing this month?
It's going to be a little bit different because we are actually going to give a little bit of advice for each sign. We're going to do them in pairs. We're going to do them in a little bit out of order, so you have to listen. I'll put timestamps on the video so you can find it easy enough. But, you should listen to the beginning and then go out to your particular sign. But, yeah, we're going to be giving you a little bit of extra information for each sign this month. Although I got to say, Margaret, this month, everything is up in the air. How many planets can change direction, change sign, and everything?
Yes, it's quite a month for relationships, isn't it? And last month was as well. So this month is really, though, more about taking action, whereas I think we've been a little bit kind of stuck for a while. So I think there's much more activity. So do listen up, everybody, in terms of your sign. And also, when we talk about the sign, we're talking about whether your sun, your ascendant, or your moon is in this sign. It's going to be relevant to you. And it's going to be relevant, of course, if the person you're in a relationship with, whether it's your significant other or your family members or your child or your partner, friends, person you work with. Keep a lookout for those, because you're going to notice maybe some of these subtle and not so subtle occurrences. And just to remind also that we're going to do separate videos for the new moon and the full moon later on during the month. So keep a lookout for those on our Facebook page and on our YouTube channel.
Also, we should just mention up front that Venus is retrograde until the 16th, and then she goes forward. In general, we got to say everything is a little bit provisional this month with Venus retrograde. Although I agree, now that she's in Libra, and now that we finally get some fire in the sky, it's a much more active month than the sort of wallowing. I don't want to say wallowing that we did in October.
Totally. So let's get started with, I'm actually looking at 4 signs, Aries, Libra, and Leo, Aquarius. So keep a lookout for these. There are some similarities and there are some differences this month. So it's a particularly, of course, important month for the Aries, Libra, if you've got sun, moon, as we said, or ascendant in this sign, because Uranus, of course, is going back into the last degrees of Aries on the 6th. So keep a lookout for this in terms of relationships, because there could be some big changes afoot for you. Maybe new relationship, or maybe some freedom from relationships that feel somewhat restrictive. It's also going to affect you, of course, if you have planets on the Leo Aquarius axis. So keep that in mind, just a little bit less directly and probably a little gentler than the Aries Libra. So it's just that there's a little more wiggle room for you. Whereas with the Aries Libra axis, it really feels just more kind of, even if your planets are not in the last degrees of Aries or Libra, you're still going to feel these changes. So a sense of kind of maybe impatience in relationships. Now, with Mars in Aquarius, going into Aquarius, this is a very important time to take the initiative and follow your ideals, particularly for anybody, of course, on the Leo Aquarius axis. So also quite an independent time for that particular axis, just to keep that in mind. There's an awful lot for these 4 signs. There's a lot about freedom this month, I think. And freedom can be, of course, always the freedom to initiate something new, maybe something exciting that you've been wanting to do. But usually first we have to free ourselves from something, because even to get involved in a new relationship means to create some space that we filled up, probably with work or with friendships or with interests or whatever. So it's a little bit like creating room in a closet. If somebody moves into your house, you have to throw out probably some old clothes or put them away. Pretty similarly this month, that we're going to be thinking, what do I need? What's restricting me? What's blocking me? Now, the 9th of the month is particularly important for all 4 signs, passion-wise, as it's the last Venus in Libra trine Mars in Aquarius. So remember that this is similar to what happened back in August. Lovely day to enjoy some romance, so keep that in your diaries. Now, at long last, there is likely to be some movement forward in relationships for Aries, Libra, Leo, and Aquarius starting on the 15th. Mars in Aquarius is going to be sextile Uranus in Aries, and Venus finally goes stationary direct in Libra on the 16th. So we talked a little bit about stagnancy at the beginning. This has been particularly challenging for these four signs because they want some movement, and particularly the Aries Libra axis. It could have felt incredibly stuck, even in some aspect of your relationship. So notice where this might have happened. Little bit careful on the 27th for Aries, Libra. Venus in Libra is quincunx Chiron in Pisces. Some old wounds might come up. It can be easy to reach out to contacts, relationships, people we're not even particularly close to, but just out of loneliness. So just be aware of that. Be a little careful. Now, this month ends with a huge bang, of course, for the Aries Libra axis, with the very third and last Venus in Libra opposite Uranus in Aries opposition. This is really truth time. No restrictions and some possible surprises. And you're probably thinking, oh my goodness, didn't I have enough surprises last month? Yes, there might be some more. It may be a little uncomfortable for Leos, so keep a lookout for this. Did I leave anything out, do you think, Armand, for those four signs that comes to mind?
I don't like that. I might be uncomfortable for Leo's bit, but no,
Sorry.
I think you've got it there. Yes. So I'll move on to Taurus and Scorpio, which we'll take together, although there are some shades of difference. Well, first of all, if Aries and Libra get a shock with Uranus coming into the end of Aries retrograding, it's actually the month begins with a big shock from Taurus and Scorpio because we're still rattling from the Uranus-Venus opposition on October 31st. So there's one at the end of October and there's one at the end of November. But the one at the end of October was at 0 degrees of Taurus and Scorpio. So these signs really felt it. And I think, with the sun in Scorpio for a good part of the month, there's this kind of sense of like, this is where the action is. And yet, Uranus backs out of the sign, gets into Aries, and Venus has left Scorpio and gone into Libra. So, these stability-loving signs, the control-loving signs of Taurus and Scorpio have been really rattled. And it's almost kind of like things get shaken up, and then all of a sudden the action sort of shifts over to the next department. It's like the planets aren't really hanging around in Taurus and Scorpio that much. As the month progresses, things, the sun moves into Sagittarius, Mercury is in Sagittarius, Venus is in Libra all the way through the end of November. So it's almost a little bit like, wow, we got a really big story going, and then everything sort of slipped away for a little bit. We may find some exceptions to that, say, for example, on the new moon, which is on the 7th. I think that Scorpios might really feel that, as a time of maybe going back in there and saying, where am I empowered? For Taurus, it might be a time when they look and say, well, what's a new beginning in relationship? I think that Taurus might really be feeling that as a new beginning. But really, I think that for Taurus and Scorpio, you've had all the action in October, and now is the time when maybe you're sort of left going, okay, and now what am I going to do?
Right. Well, that's pretty interesting. And of course, I always think that that's an axis, the Taurus Scorpio, that has so much passion, sensuality in it. So, and of course, Taurus being ruled by Venus, it gets so affected when relationships are affected. Not that the other signs don't, but I think it's particularly important for that axis. So moving on to Gemini and Sagittarius. Well, it's a pretty exciting month with Jupiter moving into Sag on the 8th. It was last here, of course, 12 years ago. This gives a sense of expansion individually and in relationships. However, be aware that commitment may prove a little restrictive. It seems to be the theme for the planets for the signs I'm looking at today, that sense of restriction. Great for travel. Great for planning travel trips together. And, with planets in these signs, relationships, it's important to incorporate travel and learning into relationships. Just keep that in mind, that that's a way that a connection can be formed, even when things maybe prove a little rocky or a little difficult. Now, on the 16th, of course, Mercury goes retrograde in Sag. So that's very much a time of reviewing for all of us, but particularly for this axis. So reviewing rather than moving forward. Again, also a good time though to connect with connections overseas. Use your Facebook to connect with friends maybe you haven't talked to for a while, or email them or drop them a text or something. So that can be a lovely way to use that Mercury retrograde. On the 22nd, the sun moves into Sag, and we've got a Gemini full moon. So here's a time of letting go. Remember that the twins are about duality. If you think of the Gemini energy, so it's a very good time for this axis to integrate something, integrate any kind of sense of duality, maybe in relationships or any polarity, something that maybe has split apart. It's a very good time to bring the two together. Now, the 25th and 27th, a wonderful lucky day, Sun-Jupiter conjunction in Sag, and then the Sun-Mercury conjunction in Sag. Maybe a day for proposal, financial luck, maybe a day to arrange your honeymoon, your wedding. So yes, a lot of exciting things going on for your sun, moon, or ascendant in these signs in relationships.
Well, it sounds like a pretty good time for them.
It is.
That's good. That's good. So
not that we're jealous or anything, Armand.
No. Fine. Gemini and Sag, they need something now and again too.
Yes. Leo and Aries will get there too.
So if we look at the Cancer, Capricorn, and Virgo, Pisces axis, we're going to see again sort of similar energies, and I think there are some differences that we'll get into, but I think that this is a sense of things maybe being less in control this month in terms of relationship, but on the other hand, not necessarily so difficult. Might actually miss out on some of the more stressful aspects. For example, Cancer, with Uranus having gone back into Aries, Cancer might be feeling some things in the area of career. Capricorn could be feeling it in the area of home. Now, these things that might not have to do directly with relationship might pull you away from your concerns with relationship or your ability to pay attention to relationship. On the other hand, Venus being back in Libra also suggests that you sort of need to pay attention to relationships. So I think for those two signs, Cancer and Capricorn, the question is really how much energy do I have to devote to relationship? Again, I can't say it enough, or I can't say it too much, or I'm showing that maybe I can say it too much. Everything is provisional because Venus is stationing from being retrograde to going direct. You just don't know. But that Venus-Uranus opposition at the end of the month is square to the Cancer-Capricorn axis. So especially if you're towards the end of the sign, you might really be feeling that stress between, is it relationship? Do I got to do my own thing? Is there work or home concerns? Or can I devote myself to partnership? There could be a little bit of a stress in that direction. Now, if you happen to be on that Virgo-Pisces axis, on the other hand, then I think things come kind of nicely. The sun, while it's in Scorpio, will be giving good aspects. On the 6th, there's a lovely Sun-Neptune trine. That is a, generally speaking, kind of romantic sort of aspect, but I think you really take advantage of it if you are on the Virgo-Pisces axis. And probably Scorpio can get a little bit of something out of that too if all goes well. So I think those things are, that is something to look forward to for those signs. Now, that great time at the end of the month that you were talking about for the Gemini Sag folks, I think could be a little bit more stressful if you're on the Virgo Pisces axis, because it's going to be square Here, communication could be a little bit sharp. It could be a little bit of, you blurt something out, you say too much, things just kind of get out of hand. You can escalate. All the Sagittarian energy is very great for stoking the fires, and it's great if it's good stuff, but you could also stoke the fires of contention sometimes. So I think that the end of the month is definitely a little bit more cautious time for these signs, particularly for Pisces and Virgo. So, maybe what is harmonious for one, or what is harmonious for Gemini and Sag might be more stressful for the Pisces, Virgo folks.
So true, Armand. And before I forget, this is a good month if you want to book onto our one-year certificate course, distance learning. You can do it from anywhere in the world because it starts in January 2019. So we have just a few places left. So do get in touch with us via our website right now if you'd like one of those places. And we very much look forward to being back again for the Scorpio new moon on the 7th of November.
See you then.
Take care. Bye-bye.